So we're gonna do positional isometrics to get our knee rotation not just opened, but fired up. Okay, so go ahead and show me rotations back and forth a little bit. So for those who are watching the video, knee rotation, our tibia rotating into our kneecap where it meets our femur. It's a fundamental part of how our knee actually functions. When we do traditional weight training, usually we're looking at how our quads and hamstrings contribute to our knee function. Think leg extensions, hamstring curls, but more often than not, there's no exposure to how well does our tibia actually rotate. And so that's kind of like the forgotten tool in our tool belt for how does our knee function. When we're doing our tibia rotation, I'm looking for her to feel as she internally rotates the inner portion of her knee along with the inside of her hamstring. And then when she externally rotates, we're looking for the outer portion of her knee, the outer portion of her hamstring. And if she feels too much ankle, she's likely dorsiflexing too far. So we want the ankle to be relatively neutral and just the toes just far enough off the floor so that we can actually create rotation from our shin. There's two situations that people may find themselves in, whether you're like Rachel and you actually have enough rotation where you visibly see that the bone is moving here independently from the upper leg. But then there's the other situation where we don't know how to feel and we don't know how to find our knee rotators. And so right now we're having Rachel just do axial rotations so she can kind of warm up and find her knee. And then we're gonna do positional isometrics at various positions of knee rotation in an effort to turn on her knee rotators a little bit further. Another thing that's worth acknowledging is not only do we need to care about how well does our tibia rotate independently of our upper leg, but we can rotate our knee at different zones of flexion and extension. So we're having her do knee rotation at a 90-degree angle. What I'd also like her to do is do it at more of like an obtuse angle where we're closer to knee extension, and as well as with her foot under her where she's closer to knee flexion with the knee fully bent. And the idea is that we're just priming different degrees of rotation so that we don't have all of our blind spots covered and there's no stone that's unturned. So another thing that's worth acknowledging is that we can't rotate our knee if we're in terminal knee extension, if her knee's completely locked out. So with her knee softly locked out, we're trying to find as much rotation there as we can. And with the knees fully bent, we have more rotational capacity than if our knee is fully straightened. So with her knee mostly straight, she's gonna have a lot less range of motion to work with in terms of how well does her knee actually rotate. So for our positional isometrics, we're gonna have you kneeling on this blue mat and just try to find our knee rotators. So you have a couple ways we can go about this. Would you rather start with the internal or the external rotation?
Should we do my good or bad knee?
Probably the good knee so we can find it better.
Okay, let's do external rotation.
On the right knee.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do here is have your knee externally rotated. I'm pivoting my foot against the box, and then I'm gonna bring my knee either over my ankle or come out from here. Okay, if you want a pole to hold on to, you wanna do your right knee first?
Yeah, no, does it matter if I bring it over top or?
So if I bring my knee over top, I'm getting more knee flexion, right? I'm bending the knee more. If I were to slide like all the way back here, then I'm more near extension. So it's kind of for you to feel out. I'm okay with you just starting at 90 degrees, find it, and then go from there, okay? I'm gonna get you a pole for the left hand. So we have your knee externally rotated. Let's pull your knee off the block a little bit. So when we do isometrics, a lot of times we talk about doing passive stretching then isometrics. I always find, and with my clients too, you saw me doing this with Susan, that finding a passive stretch in knee rotation is particularly hard. Yeah. So we're just gonna go straight into isometrics to turn things on. So what I want you thinking is without moving your femur at all, can we internally rotate your shin against the box? Yeah, if you want to hold on to that, you can. And the heel stays down, right? So you're ultimately in this position and you're trying to internally rotate your shin into the box. And I'm looking for you to feel the inner portion of your knee there. Let's sit there and let that burn. So our inability to find the contraction is part of our issue likely. And we're gonna use this at various degrees of rotation to kind of fill in the space. Okay? Keep pushing, keep pushing. Keep thinking heel down as well. You can hold on to that, yep, and relax. Now don't move a thing. We're gonna go towards knee extension, so slide this back a little bit. And now we see we have the knee, instead of at 90 degrees, you're more like here and now rotating. And so maintain this position. Think about internally rotating the shin. If I was to put my hand here and try to pull you away, you're driving into the box. What might help too is if you wanted to rail and pull your foot off the box, are you able to find outer hamstring outer knee stuff at all?
More than
The pail.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for those watching the video, we can do a series of isometrics where she has lengthened tissue in knee rotation and she's contracting into it. And then on the flip side, she can rail externally and find regressive contracting to shortening tissue. So again, the only purpose of doing this drill is for us to find our knee rotators as much as we can. What I want you to do is put your foot back, drive the knee a little bit closer. Now try to pail from here. So keep thinking internal rotation of the shin. Keep thinking foot into box.
Yeah.
Sit there and let that burn. There is not one way to do this. I would probably go for like a series of 30 seconds to a minute of pail, rail, straighten, bend, right? Going through flexion, extension. There's a lot of zones that we can work with this. So now what I want you to do is we're gonna add layers to it. So maintain that pail, so you're still pushing the foot into the box. Now keep doing that and bring your knee back towards you. And now you're doing a pail while you're extending your knee. Does that make sense? You kind of see what you're doing there? So you're maintaining internal rotation of the shin, you're pushing your foot into the box, and now bring the knee forward, so you're going into knee flexion. Yep, that shaking's a good thing. Use that as a compass to kind of find where to go. And then maintain that tension on my hands, so you're basically trying to break my finger in between your foot and the box, and then begin extending the knee as you're contracting. So two things are going on at once here. We're straightening the knee while driving this into the box. Keep going, keep going, keep going, and then keep that tension and start bending the knee more. There you go, there you go. And then come back, beautiful. So you're doing a dynamic pail in a sense. Does that make sense? Yeah. You see what we're doing there? Keep going. And then drive into me. And now pause there. So what we're gonna do now is the opposite. The heel stays down. Think external rotation of the shin. We feel the hamstring regressive tissue, the tendon here on the outer portion of our hamstring. Now maintain that rail and begin straightening your knee. So you're leaning back while rotating. And now come forward and keep that rotation. Yes, keep thinking knee forward into my fist, this fist. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful, and then come back. Keep rotating the foot out. And now bring it back in. And now we're gonna go ahead and pail again. So we have you here. Big deep breath, try to relax. Start pushing our foot back into the box. You notice the leg isn't actually moving a whole lot. You're internally rotating the shin into the box. If my hand was here and I'm trying to pull you off, I can't. And now that you have your isometric going, go ahead and begin straightening your knee again. Beautiful. Keep creating tension. And then drive forward. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So two things are going on at once. We're bending the knee towards me while internally rotating the tibia out of external rotation. Give me one more there, and then we're gonna do the opposite for internal rotation. To keep things moving, go ahead and sit with your right leg and get some really good axial rotations and just try to connect with your knee as much as you can. Good rule of thumb in between these series of isometrics, whether it's pails and rails at end range, positional isometrics through mid range, is to be doing variations of cars in between sets, with the idea being that she needs to create more afference, the ability to take on information from her body. Her body needs to know how to feel and experience the stimulus that we're trying to provide it. And because she has a hard time feeling this stuff, it's that much more important for her to be doing cars of different variations of them, so that we can kind of keep, for lack of a better word, information flowing to her knee, so that it's a little bit more trainable in the future. Give me another one. Are you able to find your knee rotation here? A little bit better? Okay. And that's, again, that's the point of it. It's like you're just telling me you have a hard time feeling it.
Yeah.
If you felt it 5% better after that, then that's like, okay, that's okay, right? That's kind of part of it. And we're gonna do the exact same thing, but in reverse. Left knee down, right knee is internally rotated. I think what makes sense is to pivot our foot against the box and then tilt however you see fit, right? If I'm here, there's less relative knee rotation versus if I go to like here, okay? So just try to find some open side. If you can't, because again, passive stretching is hard to find, then we'll just go straight into the isometric.
Internal rotation?
Yeah, because we just did external. So again, what we're doing here is just a positional isometric for internal rotation now of her tibia rather than external. Do you have any open side stretching or not really?
No.
So what we're gonna do is, because the open side stretching is hard to initiate, go ahead and begin paling. And what you're basically doing again is trying to externally rotate your shin into the box. If my hand was here, you're trying to break my hand against it. Keep that stable. Are you able to find any kind of contraction on your open side?
Yeah.
Think about pushing your heel down too, while externally rotating your shin. And now go ahead and try your rail. Do the reverse, where you're internally rotating away, and you're thinking this is rotating internally, independent from the femur. And we're looking to feel the inner portion of our knee contracting. And now relax it. Go ahead and reposition a little bit. And let's go ahead and begin our pale again. So you're gonna rotate, keep the ankle still though, because I don't want you doing this and your heel starts sliding with you. So you see how that happened again.
Yeah.
So if my hand's here, what might actually help is readjust yourself for a second. That's the setup right there.
Okay, yeah, fix my toes. We're like ramming it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So if you need more, instead of toes, more outer ankle on the box, then that's
It needs
okay.
to be blocked.
Yeah, yeah. If you need a better block, then that's okay too. Again, the setup's kind of everything. If you have a shitty setup and it's hard for you to find to begin with, it's just gonna be even harder to find. So begin your pale. So we're externally rotating out of the internally rotated position. And now begin straightening your knee. And so ultimately you're trying to do this. You're externally rotating while going through extension and flexion. And so if you're still pushing, yep. And then go ahead into knee flexion. And we're going through knee extension while the tibia is externally rotating. From here, and you're creating pressure. Beautiful. You feel that shaking going on at least.
Yeah.
You see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just keep chasing that. Good. Keep bringing the knee towards me. Keep rotating into the box. Awesome. Pull away. Beautiful. And there's still constant tension there. Awesome. Let's do 2 more there, and then you're gonna rail off of it. And now, without moving a thing, I want you to try railing. So try to internally rotate further. You're trying to pull your foot off the box. That's okay, that's okay. So you're pivoting the heel down. You're trying to rotate internally. Okay. So now you're no longer pushing into the box. You're pulling away from the box. Now, while pulling away from the box, can you straighten your knee and start kind of sliding back while constantly driving IR of the shin? And try to find inner knee, try to find inner hamstring, all inner knee stuff that's contributing to that movement. Beautiful. Let's do 2 more there, and then we're gonna pale 1 more time. Now pause there, begin your pale again. Push into the box. So you're trying to rotate, and now push into me again.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And now do I rail?
You can if you want. Go ahead and try railing and then pull back. There you go. So you see how there isn't one way to do this, right? It's a series of isometrics coming out of internal, going into external, coming out of external, going into internal. And you're just using the box as a pivot to isometrically contract against. Okay, go ahead and relax that. Let's have you sit up on the box and rotate your knee again. Let's get some variations of axial cars going again. And so again, we're using variations of axial rotation where she's rotating on one axis, a variation of a knee car, to keep information flowing, to improve the afference. How responsive is the tissue in her knee that is responsible for the knee rotation? That's a hard thing for her to feel, along with most gym goers, to begin with. And we were doing the positional isometrics with the rotation as a way to ramp up and turn on our knee rotators a little bit better. So what we're gonna do next is knee flexion positional isometrics. So again, we know rotation comes before linear. So we primed your rotators, and now we're gonna go and prime flexors. So we went ahead and primed knee rotation, right? After we prime rotational tissue to deeper, we're gonna go into flexion extension. We're gonna put blocks under your knee and then do positional isometrics to make our knee bend a little bit better for the quad and the hamstring. So what we're gonna do is put a block in front of you here so that you have something to push into to maintain hip extension. For us doing positional isometrics, So what we're doing here is working on how well does our knee bend and extend. We're not gonna go for passive stretching, we're going for active work being done. So while maintaining hip extension, where your butt is squeezing into the box that's right here, I want you to start pushing down. Are you able to find your quad? Okay, so we're doing a positional isometric in relative knee flexion, not end range knee flexion. And we did knee rotation previous to this to prime deeper tissue to facilitate linear movement a little bit better. You're gonna go for another 15 seconds, and then we're gonna add another block. And we're just gonna do 30-second intervals by adding one block at a time. Depending on how much knee flexion someone has, you have a lot, skipping blocks might make more sense. If you have a client or someone with less knee flexion or untrained, they might need smaller jumps. So go ahead and relax that. You're gonna go ahead and push here. Maintain hip extension, your butt is squeezed, right? Your butt's squeezed into the block, you're maintaining that contraction. Without losing that contraction, we're pushing down. And so this would be very similar to like a couch stretch, but not just passive stretching, we're doing active work through the space, right? We need to make sure we have usable mobility, not useless flexibility. Keep pushing, you feel that shaking going on. Go ahead and chase the shakes and see if you can push a little bit harder for like another 15 seconds or so. And relax. We're gonna do one more block here. Go ahead and push down there for a moment. I'm gonna grab a couple more blocks. Now for the viewer's sake, can you go ahead and lift your foot up? So Rachel here has a lot of knee flexion. She has the ability to bend her knee enough to clear 4 blocks. Go and relax it. But just because she's able to bend her knee the whole way doesn't mean her quad and hamstring, and quad in particular in this instance, is usable through the full range of motion. So if we immediately put 5 or 6 blocks under her foot, that's just training the very, very end of her knee flexion. But ultimately her training in the gym, her external task-based training, is more than just end ranges, it's mid ranges as well. She has a very hard time feeling her hamstring. And if someone has a hard time feeling their hamstring when they bend their knee, more often than not, it's the quad restricting them. So we're using positional isometrics to open up the entire front side of her knee and her quad in an effort to find more hamstring because her knee bends more efficiently. Let's go ahead and add one more block to it. Go ahead and start paling from here. You still feel the quad engaging.
Yeah, I'm also getting like the tiniest bit of knee.
Okay, so if you feel some knee, that doesn't mean we stop right away.
Yeah.
Can you find more quad?
Yeah, well, as I pale, it goes away. And
that's a good teaching point for viewers as well. If someone has knee pain, say we have 5 blocks here. If someone has knee pain on 4 blocks, we would start at 3, build capacity, inch our way up. If someone has pain at 2 blocks, we would start at 1.
Yeah.
If someone has pain at 5, like you, but you can pale and contract tissue in an effort to turn the pain off, then that's worthy as well, right? That's valid. Go ahead and keep pushing for another 10, 9, good. Keep maintaining hip extension, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, don't move a thing. Now try to lift off and clear the box. So you see Rachel here has enough knee flexion to clear 5 blocks. And we see how much we're shaking there, and we would say that that's our compass that's kind of guiding us into what territory we need to be exploring. Go ahead and relax. We're gonna pyramid down now. So we pyramid up, you're gonna pyramid back down to kind of get a little bit more stimulus. You're gonna pale, just pale. So go ahead and pale down now. And some people would say that the positioning of the block on the bridge of their foot gives them discomfort and takes away from how well they can actually feel their quads. So that's something that may need to be tinkered with depending on how well someone's foot can kind of tolerate that and the object you're putting your foot on.
Well, I feel like I can push down better when my toes are flat.
Versus if they're...
Versus when the block is so far on top of my bridge.
Okay,
I don't know, I get a better grab.
Okay, that's fine. Leverage on it matters. Yeah, leverage matters. Now go ahead and rail off of here. So again, we did the pale where she's ultimately trying to push down into the block to isometrically contract her quad. And now she's railing by lifting the foot up and trying to squeeze her hamstring into deep knee flexion. Go ahead and relax it. You're now down to 3 blocks again. Go ahead and maintain hip extension and start paling. Be able to find quad there as well. Okay, 3, 2, 1, lift up, rail. You feel hamstring there? Be able to find better? Yeah. Go ahead and relax the foot. Last round, you're gonna pale on 2 blocks. Go ahead and push down here. So again, the whole start of this workout, we primed how well does her knee rotate through flexion and extension. And after we did positional isometrics there to prime rotational tissue, because rotational tissue is deeper within the knee than linear tissue. We followed it up with linear tissue by doing positional isometrics in degrees of knee flexion. How well does her knee bend? In an effort to turn her quads on, and an effort to have the knee bend a little bit more efficiently. And then she's gonna rail, yes you can rail, and lift off to try to find her hamstring there. What we're gonna do now is add a little bit more complexity to it for her to learn to control the space that she actually has in her knee. Rachel's someone who has range of motion at her knee, but she doesn't have as much control over that space as we would like. So what we're gonna do is have her do knee flexion hovers, where you're staying in knee flexion, you're gonna come inward and come down, and then you're gonna come up into knee flexion and rotate your hip through here. Okay, so you're in hip extension and you're rotating through the hip while doing knee flexion. Okay, so go ahead and lift your foot up.
Take my sweatshirt off for this one.
Okay, go ahead and take your sweatshirt off. So you're in hip extension. Yeah, you can stay neutral, okay? Go ahead and lift up, clear the block, rotate, 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 yep, come back down, and then come back up. Rotate all the way to me, all the way to me. Clear the blocks, clear the blocks. Yes, exactly, you're good. Try not to plantar flex either if you can help it, or stay plantar flex. If you're gonna, don't let the ankle move, right? Keep it fixed.
I can't help it, it just goes in mind of its own.
So that's part of our problem, is separating ankle from knee. And if somebody here has a hard time finding their hamstring and they're getting all calf, then it might be important for someone to maintain dorsiflexion. And if they can't clear boxes that high, so I'm gonna keep you dorsiflexed. Yep. It might be a little bit easier for them to not engage their calf because they're in plantar flexion, their calf is contracting.
Ah.
And so again, we're just doing knee flexion hovers here. That's okay, keep going with it. In an effort for her to learn to contract her hamstring to bend the knee, and then adding layers to it, adding complexity to it so that she can rotate her hip internally with the knee bent and then straight, and then bend the knee, you're flexing the knee, and then you're externally rotating from the hip, and then allowing the foot to drop into relative extension, and then come back up. Let's do 2 more each way. And then we can call that a day. To recap real quick, we put you in relative tibia external rotation. You paled by pushing your foot into the box. You can do it on a wall, you can do it on any inanimate object. We pale, and as I'm driving internal rotation, I am straightening my knee, finding knee rotators, paling as I come in. And then we did internal rotation, where I paled from here and did the exact same thing. So ultimately, when you look at the global knee car, we were doing this, right? We did axial rotating to continue the information flow, and then we did positional isometrics and knee flexion. Do you have any questions?